Now then, everybody, this is the Wedding Mavericks podcast, a podcast for wedding photographers and videographers who want to build successful and sustainable businesses. My name is Jules, and I'm joined by my wife, Lindsay. And on this episode, we're going to be discussing other ways that you can make money as a wedding photographer and videographer. Now, obviously, this whole podcast is about wedding photography and videography and running a business around that. You might be thinking, well, why are we talking about other things? Well, the reality is, in the last episode, we were talking about the potential effects of cost of living.
Yep.
And of if a recession happens, which is almost guaranteed, that there may be some effects from that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that, rather than get upset and worry about it, one of the things that we do have within our control is to be proactive and look for other ways that we can generate income, generate revenue.
Yeah.
And also diversify our business and our revenue streams so that we're not relying solely on one place to get our money.
Yeah.
So we thought we should talk about the kind of things that you could do to use the equipment and the skills and the knowledge and to some extent the contacts and things that you've already got to look for other ways to generate bits of money. Could be a little bit, could be a lot. It could be that you start to shift your entire business so that it's more balanced and it's not all on one area. Because I think if COVID, kind of the pandemic, shocked everybody, was that, because I don't think anybody could expect that, we just press pause on the world. And in particular, the thing that was affected the most was going to be the events.
Yeah.
And industry and people being able to socialise, and obviously weddings is an event where people socialise, and it was one of the things that you really couldn't do during the pandemic.
Yeah. Whereas
like retail and there was plenty of businesses like builders and tradespeople, they were all really busy, and there were lots of things that kind of actually benefited in a way from the effects of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Whereas our business was totally knackered by it. And so if that's taught or reminded us of anything, is that even though we would have always thought, well, people always get married, it isn't quite as simple as that. So it's worth considering it. And you might be doing this, and you might love weddings, and you might love wedding photography and filmmaking so much that this is what you love doing, this is what you want to do, and you've got no interest in doing anything else. And if that's the case, absolutely fair enough. We get that.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's good to have plan Bs and Cs. It's good to have, other ideas and tricks up your sleeve and all that business.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think we'd started to touch on this last week, that, you must recognise what quite a unique in some ways, what a unique skill set and what an advanced skill set you will have developed all the while that you've been doing this, whether you're new to wedding film or photography, or you've been doing it a little bit longer, whether you're kind of seasoned pro, been doing it a long, long time. There's an awful lot, first of all, to or just one example, there's an awful lot to be said for excellent customer service and knowing how to communicate with people and look after your clients, and maybe just without realizing it, because let's face it, you are running your own business. There may be more than one of you involved, but you are initiating that relationship with leads to clients in the first place. You're managing that relationship, you're nurturing that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then on the actual wedding day itself, just like we said last week, don't forget that the suppliers that couple and their family members will spend the most amount of time with on their wedding day is the photographer and videographer. So there's a heck of a lot to be said for how you portray yourself, how you communicate with people. We've talked about this sort of skill set before, and I don't like referring to them as soft skills anymore. I see like human skills and things like that
they're
talked about.
Skills,
but they
key
just
skills
are.
to running a successful business.
Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, let's kind of go a little bit further into this week, what we'd started to kind of build on. I think last week we were quite generalised in talking about, what's happening in the world right now. How could that sort of affect our business? Well, we want to just take it a step further this week, don't we? And kind of, if you were thinking after last week, scratching your head a little bit and thinking, oh, well, I get what they're saying, but I have no idea what to do. Maybe this is the only thing you've ever done. Maybe you're fresh from studying and this is what you've come into and this is kind of what you've set your stall out to do. And you're also thinking, oh, God, but I haven't educated myself, or I haven't worked hard at trying to learn this craft and work within this particular industry to start thinking about anything else. And when I say educated, I could be talking, I'm just as much talking about people that may be recent graduates that have come into the wedding industry, as much as people who have self-initiated their kind of education and learning about this industry.
On the job. Yeah.
On the job, different learning platforms, through mentoring, through shadowing other people, all sorts of different ways. So, yeah, let's pick that apart a little bit this week and just give you some ideas.
Yeah, so you've definitely, however you've come into this, if you've been doing it for more than a year, let's say, I would say that you're already at a place where you're going to have really good skills and knowledge. You're also going to have a reasonable amount of equipment. And the whole point of us talking about this is, yes, we could all, in difficult times, we could all just think, right, I'm going to go get a job. Maybe you had a previous career. Maybe you trained in something else. Maybe you just look and go, I'm going to get a job at Amazon. Yeah? We could all do that. Mm-hmm. But if we've invested thousands of pounds in this equipment and we have skills that some other people do not have, and the demand for creative, let's just call it creative. So the demand for creative and the demand for creative skills and, people who with those skills has never been as high as it is now. Mm. We're now in a place where everybody needs content, whether it's for like social and stuff like that, or whether it's for internal stuff. It's almost expected that you're going to, as a business, as a company, or as individual entrepreneurs, or even just like influencers, things like that. Everybody needs content, mm-hmm. and it's never been as important to be able to have people who can help you with those things. And so photography and filmmaking has never been as in demand, I would say. But it's just about thinking outside the box a little bit, and yes, there'll be lots of places that people that do their own with their phones. There'll be lots of places like businesses, bigger organisations that will have in-house. But believe me, there are so many opportunities for the kind of small SMEs that are looking for content creators. That's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about in a minute. But first of all, let's sort of like stick with weddings. So
yeah, okay. So you might find yourself in a position at the moment. We're not going to assume that everybody is. We'll be honest and say that we have found that there aren't as many inquiries that are coming through that are then leading to bookings as we've seen previously. And if you find that there's been a shift this year, this time around, there's been a bit of a shift in what that conversion rate is, you know, you could be worrying about that because you'll be thinking, you know, you'll be kind of thinking to next year, 23 into 24, and you want to financially plan, don't you? You want to think about what income you're going to have coming into the business. What does that mean for your business? What opportunities will that give you going forward in your business? But then also personally as well, what does that mean? You might be looking at it from a strategic point of view and actually thinking, well, you know, we've had a good couple of years, and really my ambition for this year coming out of COVID was to go for growth. But I'm not getting those leads coming through. I'm not managing to convert as many of them. And so the kind of size and scale of your business, if you like, maybe that's not going to be able to kind of come to fruition when you hoped it would. So that's why it's really good to kind of build resilience into your business by thinking about a number of different revenue streams, not just solely focusing on weddings at this point.
Or if you are going to be doing weddings, don't just think.
Oh, sorry, you did say, so sorry, focusing on weddings.
Start with weddings.
Sorry, getting carried away. So okay, so hone it in. So just thinking about
if you do photo, right?
If you do photography,
can you do other things as well? If you do video, can you do other things as well to do with weddings?
So whatever your kind of native discipline has been, if you like, and whatever form you entered this industry, whether you started with photography or videography then, and we've already seen it through COVID, we've already seen photographers and videographers looking to that other skill set and looking to see how they could incorporate that into the service that they offer. So for photographers, you may be one of them that's done that, started to offer highlight films alongside their photography packages. Videographers starting to offer small photography packages. And then out of that, this term hybrid shooter, you know, has come along. And that's what we kind of evolved into as well. And again, there'll be the photographers, videographers amongst you, but we know that we also have hybrid listeners who tune into the podcast as well. And so those people that have already for those of you that have already considered doing that, you've already got a bit of experience at doing that. You will have already started to kind of understand what maybe the benefits and drawbacks of that will be, how easy or difficult it's been to be able to adapt your approach to a wedding day to include that additional skill set. For those of you that haven't, why not give it a go? You've gone to the trouble already of investing, not just financially, but like we've talked about, it's this development of your skills and your knowledge over time. You've already done that to understand how to operate the camera, to take the stills or to make the film. You've already invested your time into developing the skills and knowledge of how to edit that raw kind of material then, if you like. So again, why not then just expand that a little bit further? Why not consider looking at the alternative, looking at the other one?
And we appreciate that there's a lot of different, it's a subjective thing, and there's a lot of different personal views in what's the sort of right way and wrong way, and what's creatively and artistically correct. Some people are very much of the mindset, photography is photography, filmmaking is filmmaking. They don't come together, etc., etc. And if that's your view, that's fair enough. And that might be the way it stays for you. What we're talking about here, and we're not actually having, this podcast isn't about whether you mix the two, whether you are able to do both or anything like that. It's actually a business question. It's about what's the potential benefit of including that in your like business model and your business plan. So, for example, if we just to take that for us, we started doing both photo and video way before the pandemic. In fact, like quite early on into our business. And yes, whilst we've always focused more on filmmaking, on wedding filmmaking and videography, we've also got to the point now where I'd say we do between a third and a half of photo and video. So both. And that makes up, a third to half of all of our weddings. So you've got to think from a purely business perspective, from an income perspective. That means that the reason we like that is because although we like working alongside other photographers, it's nice to do that. From a business perspective, we get to do fewer weddings and make more money per wedding. It's also providing a better experience to clients and things like that. Again, we're not going to go into any more detail on that. But when you're looking at how to diversify your business, how to build resilience in your business, by being able to offer both means that we can take photography jobs, we can take video jobs, we can take jobs with both. And I would say that we have seen over the last 18 months, we've seen a massive increase in the inquiries for photo and video combined. Like it's it used to be mainly video inquiries, and occasionally someone would be a photo and video. I would say nearly all of the inquiries, probably 80-90% now are photo and video.
And I see that just generally, so not just talking about our business in isolation there, generally as a trend, I don't see that going away anytime soon. And if you're able to adapt the service that you offer so that there is more of a hybrid approach there, I believe that you will benefit from that, because the one thing that potential clients are going to be looking for within the immediate future, we could be looking at kind of 12 months, 24 months here. They're looking for value.
Yeah.
And if they know that they want wedding photographs, if they know that they want a wedding film, not only are they going to be looking for the value in what they can get, 100%, they'll also be looking for the convenience of it as well. And I would say, and I'm sure amongst us out there, those that are hybrid shooters or those that are the photographers that have started to offer the highlight films, certainly over the past couple of years, you will have noticed, you will have seen what the feedback is from those couples. When you've dropped into conversation that, yeah, I'm doing your photographs, but actually I could offer you a highlight film as well. They're not having to look for an independent source to be able to provide the additional photography or videography, depending which way around it is. So I think if you were able to look at this and consider this, I think that is a surefire way, without stepping away from the wedding industry. I strongly believe that is something that's going to be really, really appealing to couples with definitely short to medium term future going forward.
All right, Linz, what else in terms of sticking with weddings, but also thinking about other types of events that we've done?
Yeah.
What's been another big diversification in our revenue streams?
Okay.
Very close to wedding.
Sticking with the weddings first of all, and then I'll go into how that's spilled over into the other types of work as well. The live streaming. Okay, for some out there, and we still see it on the Facebook groups, this big fear of live streaming. Well, you can tell us in a second, Jules, about how we came across or how we came into offering that as a service. So if we go back to, it's during the COVID times, tell us what you basically, how is it that we've come to be able to offer live streaming? What did you do? Well,
to be honest, I could see before COVID happened, I could see that live streaming was something that was becoming more, it was becoming more popular. So there was like more of a demand for it, and it was an opportunity across different things. But it was also because I like to learn and understand things. So I wanted to be able to do, the idea that you could pretty much produce kind of a television program from your laptop. That sounds really cool. Mm-hmm. So I bought, when the first Blackmagic A10s came out, I bought the first A10 Mini, and this is before the pandemic happened, and it was just for me to kind of have a play with, and then the pandemic happened. Yeah, waste the money, man. And then the pandemic happened, and then the crazy thing is that people who were having weddings, or people that were having funerals or something like that, and were finding that they couldn't have the people present that they wanted there because they were in other parts of the country or other parts of the world, or had to isolate, shield at home. They wanted a way to be able to involve them. And for us, we're not talking, we haven't done hundreds of them, but we've, over the last few years, we've made, quite a few £1,000s extra money just from solely doing live streaming of weddings, funerals, and a couple of other different events.
Like graduations you've done, haven't
graduations, like school and college, university type stuff. And there's no way that, if I hadn't have sort of thought, I'll invest in this equipment, and bearing in mind, you don't need a lot of equipment, you just need like some basic stuff, but by buying that switcher, it means I can do multicam, instantaneous switching, so I've got different angles. It's a really good production. Add a bit of audio stuff into there, which we have anyway for the video stuff, for video production. So, it's meant that we can do a really good job, and, there aren't that many people doing it.
No.
And this has been the thing, because as soon as you kind of start doing it and you're offering it, and then your name gets passed about a bit, there aren't that many people doing it. So from an SEO perspective, like ranking for Google, or ranking on Google for live streaming, there aren't many companies doing it, and it's quite easy to rank for.
And for, so you might sort of naturally question, well, why is there still a need for live streaming? Everything's open. It's business as usual. Well, only 2 weeks ago, we live streamed another funeral. It's probably going back a couple of months ago. There was a graduation. We still have requests for it at weddings.
Yeah. Because there's still people that can't or don't want to travel from abroad or from further afield, and I think that with COVID, I think the world was already starting to change to a more remote. People are realising from a sustainability perspective and from a convenience perspective and a cost saving perspective that travelling everywhere doesn't make sense all the time. And so, there are people that want to be able to travel for a funeral or a wedding but can't for whatever reason. Maybe they've got ill kind of relatives or whatever. And then there are businesses that are looking for ways to save money and increase sustainability and not have all these people travelling all over the place for meetings and for conferences and things all the time. So there's a definite need for live streaming, and it's become more simple, it's become more accessible and become more reliable. And it's something that you can charge a reasonable amount of money for.
Yeah.
And
there's no post-production on that.
So, unlike wedding photography and videography, where there is work to do afterwards, and there's quite a bit of work to do before the day, once you've invested in the equipment and you know how to operate it, it's actually, there's a bit of stress involved, but it's, we'll probably go into live streaming on another podcast.
I was going to say, I think it'd be quite a nice idea, actually, for you to actually
talk
through it and actually show the equipment that you use for a live streaming, because I think it's something that a lot of people find really daunting. And I say that just based on the threads that you see with people chatting and asking for live streaming services, and how on earth do they possibly do it? And there's a big fear about it. But again, self-taught. It was a case of going onto YouTube. It was a case of researching the equipment.
Yep.
And now, like you say, we have a really simple, but it's a reliable setup. to be able to confidently do what we need to do in live stream. So certainly something that we would recommend that you take a look at. Okay, so that's live streaming. Also, again, still within thinking within the wedding industry, you know, a lot of you may have done this when you were first entered the industry, and I'm talking about maybe taking on some second shooter or associate shooter jobs.
Yeah.
So what an excellent way of building up first-hand experience and learning from that mentor figure, learning from someone that has more experience than you, how to build, you know, to build up your experience, build up your confidence with your equipment in different environments, different types of weddings. Even the skills of developing, you know, watching that person that you're second shooting for, but watching how they are with people. So those skills that we talked about right at the beginning, those communication skills, the people skills, just watching how that's done.
I'm watching different people, because you can pick up different things from different people.
Yeah.
And by doing so, you know, if you're the sort of person who's got a real growth mindset, you can be picking up and cherry picking the best bits from whether it's the practical side of photography or filmmaking, or whether it's these people skills from people.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are still going to be those opportunities there, I believe. So it might not be that, you know, we might get into 23, it's early in 23, and you're finding that you don't have the number of bookings that you were necessarily hoping for, but keep your eyes peeled. You know, certainly the Facebook groups are a good place to be at.
There's always associate and second shooting opportunities out there, you know, and if you think about it, you're not having to do editing and things like that. It's you know, sometimes I don't think that the rates I see advertised at some of these jobs, I don't agree with the rates. I think they're too low. But at the same time, you know, if you're sort of finding that you haven't got that much work on and you need to make extra money, you know, you could do several second shooting or associate jobs a week, not have any editing to do, and still make ends meet.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other side of that is the actual editing side. So there'll be a good mix of us that think, oh, that's brilliant, turn up, shoot, hand over the cards at the end of the day and get paid, no editing. But then again, there are a number of us out there that will enjoy the editing process. And so that's another option to consider as well. You could offer, you know, let's face it, you've got a portfolio that you can show people already. You're going to have a website. You're going to have past examples of work, recent examples of work even. And so you will have a style that is going to appeal to someone. So again, think of the outlets that you can use to be able to showcase the fact that you would be happy to help out other people. And think about kind of, you know, these last few months that we've sort of come through. Everybody's stacked, yeah? And if most years are anything to go by,
it's always
for a lot of people, yeah, that's going to continue.
All the way up to Christmas.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
So offering that editing service to people, you know, is a great way to make that extra money. So it's just thinking outside the box, rather than thinking I haven't got any jobs, thinking what else can I do to use my skills, my equipment, my resources to make money.
Yeah. So then one final one from me, which is just stepping away from weddings ever so slightly. So still, those skill sets in film and photography, what other areas of using those skills could you cross over into? There will be a number of you out there who already have another strand to your business, and often that will be linked with family photography or infant photography. For some of you, there'll be a commercial aspect to what you do for a living as well. For those of you that don't necessarily have those additional strands yet to your business to generate additional revenue, think about those things. Family photography, filmmaking also.
Yeah, we've done quite a few, haven't we? Like over the years, we haven't gone big into family stuff and what have you. But you know, doing like lifestyle family photography and adding into that filmmaking, you know, believe it or not, that's actually a really popular product because when do they have people who come and capture usually they'll have their camera phones with them and they'll take photos and they'll get little video clips of you know, little Johnny on his bike or whatever, but when do they get somebody who can step outside of that family unit, look in and film them all together and make a little artistic film out of that? And if you're doing both, if you're able to do both photo and video, that's a really powerful skill set for this.
Yeah.
You can offer a nice little video, just a minute or two, montage style, alongside, these lovely kind of lifestyle family photography pictures.
Yeah, and that's something that you could do tomorrow. And we've just hit the start of November here. What's coming up in about 8 weeks' time, 7 or 8 weeks' time? It's Christmas. What a fantastic Christmas gift for other family members, to have a photograph that might be taken from that day, or a little film that's sent to them. Really, really lovely keepsakes. Other options then. So I've mentioned commercial already. So we've talked about in a number of episodes, and you will know this yourself, but the power of content creation. So think about who needs content right now, what industries, what types of businesses, what professions, commercial, branding, just different types of content creation. So that's something also, stepping outside of weddings, that you could consider. So a few different things that we've talked about there. The majority still keeping within the wedding industry, but then ever so slightly stepping out and thinking outside the box, if you like. Yeah. How then? Talk to us, Jules, about how would people go about finding that type of work?
Well, I mean, there's obviously quite a few things we've talked about there. Your wedding stuff, you think about your wedding stuff's quite straightforward. Now, for example, you're a wedding photographer and you're thinking, right, I've not got that many jobs on the books, but the ones I have got, I've already built the relationship and I've already got the contact with that client. So that's a really warm lead to offer additional services, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So just thinking really simple terms, let's say you think, right, I'm going to have a go at wedding filmmaking, bit of videography, bit of a highlight film. I'm just going to start off offering that. I'm not going to go full bag of mashings. I'm just going to do a simple highlight film and I'm going to offer that. You've already got a bunch of clients. You just email and say, this is what I'm thinking. I want to offer this. I'm going to do it at this really good introductory price. What do you think? I can almost guarantee that unless that couple have already booked, they already really, really value a wedding film and they've already booked a videographer, I can almost guarantee if you pitch it at the right price, they're going to go for it. Now, the word of warning would be here, just be careful. You've got to be prepared for this, because if you've not done this before, you're going to be very shocked about the amount of post-production work that's going to be involved in making that wedding film, even just little highlight ones. So if you suddenly take on, more than 50% of your weddings book a highlight film, and you weren't prepared for that, you haven't practiced that, you're going to find your post-production goes off the charts. But we're not really talking about that, and we're not talking about the practicalities of it so much in this episode. That's just a little warning. What we're talking about is how you can generate extra revenue. So without having to book more jobs, how can you make more money from the clients you've already got? And that would be an excellent place to start. So that's kind of, as it is, they're the clients that you've already got. But look within your network. So if you know other suppliers, you can reach out to them and explain that that's what you're planning to do as well, so that they can advertise your services, help you advertise your services for you. If we start to think about outside of weddings, just thinking solely about weddings, and you're looking at maybe doing a bit of family stuff, maybe you're looking at doing some branding or working with businesses. So you're looking at how you can use your equipment, use your skills and knowledge in other areas. And you can start to sort of look at your network. So whether this is current clients, past clients, friends, family, venues, other suppliers, basically think of everybody that you have built relationships up as, a contact list. How can you get the message out to them? How on your socials, through emails, through just, contacting them? not kind of a weird cold call, but just mentioning that this is what you're branching out into. When you think about it, the stuff that we do and the people that we meet and the relationships we build, there is a lot of opportunity there, isn't there? If we just tell people what we're doing, it's almost guaranteed that somebody that we tell is going to be looking for that thing that we're offering, or knows somebody who's looking for that thing. So just be open to that. Be open to telling people that this is what you're doing, this is what you're planning to do, and see what comes of it. A more structured way of looking at it would be to have an email marketing list. This is something we're really guilty of, isn't it? Like, we've never developed this, and this is what we are in the process of doing that now, of building an email list and being able to contact people on your email list, whether it's, list of past clients or other people that you've come into contact with, whether it's just, in previous inquiries, and just being able to collect those email addresses. You never know who these people work for, or what they do for a living.
Absolutely,
or when they might be having a family, or they might have a family and they might be looking for somebody to take photos or do something to capture their family. And by having that email list and by having some kind of newsletter or regular email schedule that you send out, explaining what you're doing, what you're offering, and again, like, you using things like your socials to put the word out there, this is huge. And particularly with your commercial, everyone's going to be using Instagram, but Facebook and LinkedIn are very good for the more, not just wedding focused things, thinking about more, business or branding type stuff.
Yeah.
LinkedIn in particular, again, this is something we need to use more. But huge opportunities, I think, to be had there. And I think that if you're looking to, you're worried about how much revenue you've got coming in, or you're looking to diversify, you've got to start, especially through these winter months. Things, if it's similar for you as it is for us, you're a little bit quieter. This is the golden opportunity to start building up these other streams. And so I thought I'd give you some examples. And these are an accumulation of the last few years. So our main focus has always been weddings, but we've just never written anything off, have we? We've never said, no, we're not this. We just do not do this at all. We've openly explored any opportunities that have come along.
Yeah.
For this exact reason, because we never wanted to just do one thing, because personally I would find that potentially a bit boring. I'm always looking for growth opportunities. I'm always looking for something to get me excited and just have a go at doing different things. So that's why it's important for us. But also at this point, we are looking, aren't we, to do more commercial work.
Yeah.
And at this particular point where you're thinking, what's going to happen with cost of living, and is the wedding industry going to be affected by a recession? How is it going to be affected? Well, rather than just worrying that all of a sudden your X amount of income that you were expecting, X amount of bookings is going to go down, look at how you can look at what you can do to prevent your whole business from being completely affected by that. How you can, it's a bit like with an investment. You don't just some people would, but you wouldn't typically just put all your money in one company, and then when the company goes bust or something bad happens, you lose your money. You spread it around and you protect your investments. You protect your capital, and that's kind of what this is. So some examples of stuff that we've done over the years. We'll just go through these fairly quickly. One that we've just been working on now. So literally just finished it today. But I've been working on it now, or we've been working on it for the past, since August, I think. Started talking about it back in May, June time. And this is a big job, this is a really big job that's taken a lot of hours and a decent amount of income from it. And this is working with a charity to make a bunch of videos, like the kind of documentary style interview videos. And it's a charity that's around a fairly rare health condition. And we've now been working with that charity for the last few years, and we'll have made, we will be into the tens of thousands of pounds of revenue from just this one charity over the last 3 or 4 years. And that would have never happened, but I saw on a PR company, this is like going back in 2019, I think it was, on a PR company's website, and I just came across it because they were a local company to where we were based. And I was like, I've never heard of them. Who are them? What are they doing? Just happened to look on their website. And as I'm like looking around on their website, I see that they've got a vacancy for somebody to edit. It was like a freelancer to edit some videos for them. It was footage that they'd already captured, and they just wanted someone to edit it together, because they had like a bit of a workload issue, and they needed to get someone to edit these videos for them because they didn't have anyone in house that could do it at the time. So it was really poor money. It wasn't very good money, but I just happened to get in touch with them and said, I'd be interested in editing these videos for you, because I was a bit quiet. So there you go. I've used like my initiative to try and make just a little bit of extra money. It wasn't necessarily enough money to really make it worthwhile, if I'm being honest. But I was intrigued to know, I was trying to make contacts, I was trying to network, and this was a way of doing it, whilst getting a little bit of something for it. And in a nutshell, what led from that was doing a couple of edits for them, which was ended up being kind of this interview almost. I went and met them, talked to them, did these videos. The next thing I know, I'm doing a fairly big project with them. Again, got paid quite a few £1,000s for that, but it was the first time I'd done something off my own back with them. And that was, interviewing people, making a film, or a few films out of a few interviews. I've now done that for the last few years, and the projects just keep getting bigger and bigger, as well as the big project that we've just finished now. We've now got 2 other projects currently ongoing with them to make videos in a hospital. And it has, hasn't it? It's led to repeat work and quite a bit of work. And I would imagine there's no reason why there won't be subsequent work further in the future. Yeah. It's become a decent proportion now of our yearly income.
And that's I guess the stars aligned kind of there a little bit as well, didn't they? Because this charity, it's quite a rare condition. So I guess the charity itself was sort of in its early days. With each year that passes, their sort of donations and the fundraising that they do and people that contribute to that's increasing. The awareness of this condition is increasing. But the charity themselves and the people that run that, they see the real value. They have seen the value in having really good quality images and film, that basically, because what they're ultimately wanting to do, and I suppose this would be the same for any kind of charitable organisation, they're wanting to raise awareness, aren't they, of what their cause is all about. And so, it's quite clear to see that this organisation really
they're invested
value
in
absolutely,
good quality content creation.
Yeah.
And they do also have, they do have the capabilities to do some stuff in house. They do they do a podcast, and they do some live stuff, and they do some other kind of more simple video production. But when it comes to the more either creative or the more in-depth stuff, where they need someone to go out, film patients and things in their own environments, in their own houses and things, or go into hospitals and do stuff, when they need that's what they now call on us for. And because we're reliable, we're easy to work with, and we're producing good stuff, they keep coming back. So, that's one example, and that would never have happened if I just hadn't have emailed the person asking for some videos to be really simple videos to be edited. So that's it's worth explaining that as an example, because some people wouldn't have bothered with that because they would have just thought, it's not even worth my time. So sometimes it is, and some other examples that we've done, working with a local college group. So just having built a connection with somebody, and I'll tell you the story. A lad who wanted to get into wedding film making, a young lad who was sort of college age, 17, 18 years old, contacts us and says, can I have some, I want to get some experience filming weddings. And he was a local lad, and we were just impressed with the fact that he rung us up and he sounded anyway, we gave him a shot. He came with us and shadowed us and just helped out a little bit on a couple of weddings, because we see the value of helping somebody in that situation, get some experience and ask questions and see if it's something he wants to do. And he was doing media and stuff at college. In a nutshell, what that led to was he went on to college to study that further. He then got an apprenticeship at a college in Leeds, near where we live, a big college that is a part of a group that owns all these colleges and schools and sixth forms and stuff in the area. And he ended up working in their marketing department. And then one day when they needed a photographer for a project, he recommended me. And off the back of that, I've now done several jobs with that group of colleges. We're not talking mega money, but we're talking, the few £1,000s here, a few £1,000s there from all these different, businesses that you make these links with. That's just from being a decent person and giving someone a shot and letting them have some experience, and then he's put your name forward. You never know when that, those connections that you have built are going to return for you and give you something back because you did something for somebody else.
Just the same as when we've talked about this on previous podcasts, relationship over transaction, relationship building, the importance of good communication, the importance of being decent people, being transparent and honest with people. And you'll see there in the two examples that Jules has just given, those skills, those opportunities that already exist when we're working at weddings. Think about when we talk about word of mouth. Think about when we're talking about how we behave, how we portray ourselves, how we communicate with people on the day, how we're interacting with them, because it's all about, well, what are these people's perception of you? And then when you get the call that, oh, you did my cousin's wedding, oh, you did my other daughter's wedding, but like you've just said, it's the same principles, it's the same thing, understanding the skills that you have, and it's just applying them within a slightly different environment.
Yeah.
Because they still count for an awful lot, don't they?
Absolutely. And there's lots of other different examples, somebody whose wedding we were doing, who was a wedding hairstylist, and she was, this is in COVID, she was she basically did in-person workshops, education for hairstyling. She's quite, she's an influencer within the industry. She's got 100,000 odd Instagram followers. She's really well known for the bridal hair. And she decided, COVID happened, she decided she was going to put an online course together. And I ended up filming that for her and putting all the videos for that together for her. And have now worked on other online courses, filming and putting together other online courses for people, because I've got the experience of doing that now. And again, that's something that's not going away. We all know how, YouTube content is really been on the up, and, people are looking for people who are influencers or have some kind of skills that they want to pass on to people, but don't necessarily have the media skills, are looking for people to help with that. There are plenty of people looking for that, and you know, if you look for those opportunities, they are there. Like, there are people looking for these skills. So that's like another example, and we've done that with other people. We've done that with children's entertainers. We've done that, you know, worked putting dance videos together because of our daughter's dance teacher. You know, there's so many different opportunities just by making contacts. And yeah, you're not going to become a millionaire from it, but specifically in these times where things are a little bit difficult, things might be a little bit uncertain. It's really important just to think outside the box and consider the opportunities that are there, other than just thinking I'm a wedding photographer or filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah?
100%. Sorry, there's another line you were going for. You were going to say something else there. But I think that's where we'll leave it this week, actually. So, yeah, quick little follow-up, I think, this week, just on the back of what we'd started to delve into in the last episode about the cost of living crisis, how it's affecting us all. And then, yeah, this week, just talking a little bit about what ideas, what other things you could possibly consider to help you generate additional revenue streams in your business. So we hope that that's been something that's been helpful for you, and maybe actually giving you a few ideas of the different things that you could do, different areas of work. And if it did, you want to get in touch and you want to share any thoughts that you've got about other examples even, maybe there's things that we haven't covered, we haven't thought of, and you know that we'd always love to hear from you. If you want to get in touch with us, then please do so at Wedding Mavericks on Instagram. And please don't forget to rate and review us wherever you listen to our podcasts or watch us. And also, please share it with someone you think might find it useful.
Definitely. Get sharing on your socials. Tag us at Wedding Mavericks. Yeah, it's been great talking to you. Hopefully it's been of use. And we'll catch you in the next one. See you later, guys.